everyone, welcome to my channel, Books Gurrs and Purrs. My name's Leslie, and welcome to my booktube channel, where I discuss all things books, including the adaptation of Anne Rice's The Vampire Chronicles that I'm currently obsessed with through AMC. Today we're going to discuss the New York Comic Con, trying to squeeze this out to you all. Here's the deal. I watched the New York Comic Con live when it was available, but then it was pulled down. So then I kind of had to cobble together what was discussed based on like other clips that I found on different channels. So I have a slideshow. That's the best way I could do it. So feel free to share your thoughts below. There's so much I'm excited about. So let's get into it. So everything is kind of like not exactly a direct quote, but just like the summary of what was said. Someone was asking about like this, not just this particular season, but the show overall. And Sam Reed was saying the show is fucked up, but we can laugh and cry about it together. And I've been feeling that for these past 2 seasons. There's just been certain episodes that are quite traumatic. And there are a lot of funny moments. There's just like the show really captures the emotional roller coaster and Rice's writing has, and they encapsulate it really well on the show. And so I think I'm bracing myself because we've gone through quite a bit in season 1 and season 2. There's always been this like I feel like emotional manipulation taking place. And even though I've read the books, I've had my jaw drop, even though I know what happens. I can't explain it. The show's so great. But I do admire his ability to kind of like say something without saying anything. Louis' journey this season. And so Jacob just went on to quote Hannah, who's the other co-writer, co-creator, I guess, that helms the writing team, and is just discussing how, like by the end of season 2, Louis has like a very cathartic arc for season 1 and season 2, but also ultimately grief doesn't end there, right? Grief comes in waves, and he still has things to work out emotionally. There's more like self-reflection that needs to go on. So it's like one step forward, and then like I think there's gonna be a lot of reflection for some of these characters. Yes, Lestat, yes, Louis, but also Armand. But we'll see if we'll save Armand for last. But I do like the way that they're like explaining it. Like he's gone to this point, but again, grief really comes in wave. And I feel like as someone that always feels like they have to defend Louis, I'm not one of those people that feels like one character is right and one character is wrong. I feel like that's too flattening and two-dimensional and oversimplifying like a beautiful story. I feel like these are all like really messed up like monsters, and we kind of just love them all. Even with like Louis' like philosophical existential dread, Catholic guilt, accepting of himself, and all these different like facets of his being. I look forward to the ride because where the show has pulled from other books so far to cobble together like the arc of Louis has been like chef's kiss. Which leads me to what Mark Johnson thoughts on the season are, and Hannah Moscovich. I'm going to go ahead and leave this up so I could discuss this. So something that stuck out to me about what Mark said was, yes, he said that, basically he's saying there's going to be so much of like the horror, the emotional juggernauts, like so many things that have already happened because they are trying to answer vaguely. But something that really stuck out to me that Mark Johnson said is romance. Like there will clearly be like romance this season, and that has me so tickled, so giddy, because for me, I feel like just like in season two, where you see Lestat smooch on so many different people from different timelines, we're gonna get a lot of that this coming season. But Armand's gonna play like a big role in with several characters. I feel like it's his Armand season. I can't believe I'm saying this. To begin his smooch on around different timelines, if you will. Um, and so that's really sticking out to me because what Hannah Moscovich went on to say, which is that the books that were pulled from are Merrick, Queen of the Damned, and the Vampire Armand. And so for Merrick, if for us to have read the books, we already see how in season two parts of Merrick were pulled into that. Um, I'm hoping that if there's further discussion about Merrick, does that mean that are we literally getting the character Merrick? Or a character like that? In exploring an extension of not just Vampire Chronicles, but then there would be the Mayfair witches, right? There's got to be some Mayfairs lurking into the story, and how does that play a part? Or are they pulling from Merrick based on like how Claudia presents herself in that book? Um, Also, Queen of the Damned. I feel like yes, we know they're going to pull from Queen of the Damned. The Vampire Lestat already has Akasha spoken about. Queen of the Damned. I wonder if they're going to actually. We already actually. What am I saying as a fan? In Queen of the Damned, we already see that they have Baby Jinx pulled in this season, and I think that's like an important choice if they want to make an impact with their character throughout the season. Will Baby Jinx see the light of day of all the things for me to say in season four? How long is that character going to be present? Because I do have some ideas for her, um, somewhat reflecting maybe how like Lestat and Louis felt about their relationship with Claudia. I just wonder if that's going to play a role because Baby Jinx is a younger character. And I think that's kind of like important to like think about going forward. So yeah, I'm trying to think if I have anything else to say about that. Going on. Oh, do Louis and Gabrielle interact? And Jennifer Ailey on Gabriella. All right. So the actress Jennifer, who is playing Gabriella, she said something so interesting. And gosh, I'm looking at my notes. Okay, so she said she creates chaos and thrives on it. So I think that's really interesting because that's something very like um in the vein of of Lestat really. And so they're probably going to be just discussing like how cycles repeat themselves, but also what really stuck out to me was that the actress Jennifer said that she has no hope, but essentially projects her hope into Lestat. And I found that very telling because that reminded me of Louis. So in terms of patterns repeating, although Louis and Gabriella are very different characters, I definitely think that they've woven similarities into both of them. One is that Louis and Gabriella are two people that have their nose stuck in a book, would rather just be home reading. And we've seen how in season one, when Lestat and Louis were not on good terms, Louis really turns his back, right, metaphorically, to Lestat, and just has his head in the books. And I feel like that's got to rub Lestat the wrong way, considering how his mother treated him similarly. And on top of that, that makes me see how Gabriella and Louis make the same mistake. Gabriella putting her hopes into a child, which it's not really fair to put like that onto a child. I know she's using hope vaguely to what she's getting at, but also Louis, when he meets Claudia in the narration while he's in Dubai, says um, that Claudia was his redemption, and I also feel like that's him making a similar mistake of looking at somebody he doesn't know, making them his child, and saying like, "Oh, I'm not gonna deal with all my mess, but you will, like, absolve me of it in a way," or he just there's no way that Claudia could ever be, anyone's redemption. No one could be that for somebody else, you have to be it for yourself, and, I just thought that was really interesting, very telling of of how that stuck out to me. My ears really perked up when Jennifer said that, so, I'm, like, so excited, to see her and Lestat and how that plays out. I'm sorry I'm looking down, but I'm just trying to make sure I don't, miss anything. Oh, do I have anything for this? Let me see. Oh, you know what? Okay, this is a random thing. Someone in the crowd happened to mention, they're also a social worker, and, they were just saying, like, how much Jacob Anderson's music as Riley Ritchie really, like, helps people stay on earth really, and that was so touching and so beautiful, and I'm such a huge Riley Ritchie fan, so the chance that, like, a fan had the opportunity to tell him that, yeah, it stirred an emotion clearly in him, but also in everyone else, and as me as a fan of the show and of his work, it's just really beautiful to see him, like, acknowledged in that way. Lastly, okay, so this is the biggest surprise for me as the next discussion, which is every time there's like an interview, not just a panel, but an interview with the cast, and I know Eric Bogosian is going to be present, I think to myself, get ready, Leslie, because we're going to get some sort of tea because he always ends up accidentally saying something that he's not supposed to. I've even seen an interview with him where he got bleeped out because he said something he wasn't supposed to. So I appreciate the network for bleeping him because they're just like AMC was probably like, no, we cannot share whatever that thing is just yet. But that had me so tickled. Anyways, getting to the point, what stuck out to me the most, which had me the most surprised, was it was not Eric. It was not Eric that's the one that really like threw me. It was actually Assad Zaman. And Assad, like, not just hugged, but, like, lifted up Eric, and I'm telling you, I've seen, like, short clips of this and their portion of the interview, and I have been so just, like, tickled ever since, and I just, like, I can't get over it. On top of it, he literally made, like, Eric blush. So not only was Eric blushing, covering his face, but, like, I think after I had to watch a clip again, but, like, he puts his, like, what do you mic down, Eric does, and he goes, "Okay, that's enough," and I just thought that was so funny. The fact that, like, Eric had hit his limit, considering that he spoils everything. So let's get into it, and that is that, Armand is daddy apparently. So let's just discuss, like, Armand's dynamics with Eric and with others around him, because that's, like, gonna be really important. That's also something that Hannah, oh my goodness, let me not mess up anyone's names. Hannah Moscovich, brought up was also was also the vampire Armand, um, and you know what? Should I discuss it now? I'm trying to think. Hopefully I won't forget this. I'm glad we're digging into the vampire Armand, but what parts are we gonna dig into? Are we gonna dig into the Marius of it all? Are we going to dig into there's like a little portion of the vampire Armand where he drops his own truth bomb about what happened during the trial in Interview the Vampire. I have a feeling that they're not going to go there, but I always kind of wondered if they would. It's not necessary, but I just wondered if that would play a part between what Armand said happened that Louis didn't see, as well as Lestat. I just wonder if that's going to come into play or not. And so it's up in the air. Um, there's okay. By the way, my channel is always going to be a spoiler discussion. I put it on the pin photos just to like make everyone aware. Um, there's something that was changed in this show, but I like the change. Not everyone does, and so now I feel like I have a chance to bring it up why this change happened. All right. So in the first book, in Interview the Vampire, when Louis and Armand are together, it's like a very short, brief portion in the book. I don't even think it's like a whole chapter, if that. It's really brief, just saying like, yeah, we went off as companions, but it seems like a very nonplussed, passive interaction. And throughout New Vampire, when Louis does have a chance to go off with Armand, it seems like Armand does all the pushing, and then like Louis isn't very like receptive. He kind of like begrudgingly agrees to things, I think, or doesn't even really give a response because he's such a passive person. My point being that their relationship ends, and the whole reason why it ends is because Louis says, "Oh yeah, I visited Lestat," like so like casually, and Armand hears that and is immediately upset. He gets his coffin and bounces. He's like, "I'm done with this." So it's just like a part of their relationship where also Armand brought up like and confessed to like his part in what happened in the theater. And Louis was just like, "Yeah, I know." Which is just like so passive. Again, it's left up to us readers to figure out what the feelings are and the thoughts are of Louis. So for me, it was just like it's him punishing himself. And I definitely feel like that's how the show handled it. He wants to for Louis in the show, he wants to punish the stat, but I also think he very much wants to punish himself while he's with Armand. Um, it comes off like he's just trying to punish the stat, but I think it's very much about punishing himself. And so why not be in this relationship and make Armand just as miserable as he is for what happened to Claudia? Anyway, circling back to this, my point is that in the books, Armand leaves Louis, and on the show, it's the other way around. Louis leaves Armand, and I feel like there's a couple of reasons for that. One, our Louis has to function a little bit differently. He has to be like a bit more assertive, and he can't be as passive as he is in the books. As well as he's more culpable on the show, right? Because they're trying to get to a place where the character have accountability. Also, I know some fans that have read the books aren't really happy with the fact that Louis is the one that makes the decision to end their relationship on the show instead of Armand. But I think it's really important that that was changed because what the show has always done and will continue to do is show patterns and cycles. And for Armand is someone that he keeps trying to mold himself into whoever the other people in his life want him to be because he thinks like, oh, then they'll love me. That's kind of like the idea I get from the books. So considering what happens between Armand and Marius, and then so if we're gonna stick with that, and then stick with Louis leaving Armand, then we have to consider who the person that is endgame for Armand, if that really does happen. And Armand has to experience this pattern of being basically abandoned or not chosen, even by Lestat, right? And we're gonna see how he leaves Armand as well. So there's all these different people in his life that are leaving him, and he's always presented himself like as whatever version he thinks that person wants to be. That when he finally lands with someone that does love him, it's because they love all of him and not some uh, pro- him projecting on a persona in order to have someone's love. So I think that's what they're doing with with the show, and that's why I haven't had any problems really with any of the changes they have made because I feel like it's such a delight, and I feel like it serves like the overall arc of the characters. So that really stood out to me. Also, because this is the portion where I'm gonna have the most to chat about. Okay, so the other relationships dynamics. Assad said like what's more important is like the relationship that he has with himself and how other people fit in it. So yeah, I wonder if he's just like not gonna see Louis at all. I feel like so much of his portion will be between him and Daniel and then him and Lestat. Maybe not so much Louis. I couldn't imagine Armand, I don't know what, trying to apologize again. I don't see him and, and Louis spending much time together this season, but Um, something that happens in the books is that, through all this tragedy, it really is like a trauma bonding experience by the time Queen of the Damned comes around. And so thereafter, him and like Louis and Armand seem to be like on better terms. But I feel like they have a long way to go on the show and how they decide to handle that. Something else that Hannah said that I just remembered right now, is that I'm so annoyed that I forgot to discuss it. But Anna mentioned how listen, like there's memories, right? Because season two, the trailer was like memories of monster, and so I think that's going to carry on. And Lestat is going to have to face some things that might be like repressed memories, maybe. But I also, in the dark recesses of my mind, reading all this gothic literature, um, I wonder what that's going to be about. Is it just going to be about him and his relationship with his mother? Is it going to be about him and his relationship with Claudia? Are some of the cycles that are the relationship that he has with his mom, how is that going to repeat itself or manifest itself with Claudia when we see like his version of what things were versus what kind of memories start to flood in? And so that's going to be a hard one to take because there was a separate interview that I totally forgot to mention. There's a separate interview where Sam Reed mentions that like he literally like had to close his laptop and toss it aside because of what he read. And I'm really nervous. Is it about him and Gabriella or is it about him and Claudia? Like I don't know. Is it gonna be about him and Magnus? That's there's just gonna it's this season's gonna be very very messed up. Like Sam Reed said at the very top, it's going to be effed up, and you could laugh and cry together, and that's definitely going to really. It's going to be a wild experience because something that the character Louis has made it very clear is how you get sucked into Lestat and like the hurricane that is Lestat, and it's just like really discombobulating. And we, as a viewer, are going to basically like take place of what the side of where Louis was and experience the chaos that is Lestat. And it's going to be next level and it's going to be wild. Um, So here's my question. What parts of Vampire Armand do you think are really going to be pulled from? Um, and then speaking of Armand's dynamic, which is the subject that I should be trying to stay on, um, is that also his relationship with Daniel. Since Mark Johnson said that the season is also romantic, I hope all the romance is with these two gentlemen, with Daniel and Armand, because I am a Devil's Minion shipper, and so I just want to see how that manifests. I'm really excited um, to see what happens there. And by the way, that was like my favorite portion, the most surprising part of the panel, and I immediately was so excited for the fan art because the Memnoch the Devil works hard, but the interview with the vampire fandom works harder, okay? Because then this popped up on my Instagram by Magui, and it says, "It's tattered, it's broken, but it's mine." And so I thought that was like so cool, so exciting to see. And so I hope I see like more illustrators, artists come up with like a rendition of that conversation as part of the panel. Um, Here, let me look at my notes one last time to make sure I covered everything because I know I'm gonna end up letting you go and forgetting something. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, there's one other thing that actually Sam Reed said about Lestat that made me reflect on Armand as well, which is that so much of Lestat is like a performance, and then like you're gonna see like the curtain, the mask slip, basically, right? And that also made me think about Armand because he does again perform for those that he wants to be in a relationship with. At times he does these monstrous things, but again he'll perform to what he thinks his partners want, if that makes any sense. And I find that interesting, like how both those characters do that, but for like different reasons, right? How they move into the world. Um, Lastly, I'm not going to talk about it right now because I don't want to make this super long. I will have a separate discussion because our queen deserves to have a discussion all their own. We are going to talk about next weekend, most likely the casting of Queen Akasha as Sheila Ateem. I immediately looked up the actress, and I'm so excited to discuss their casting. But I'm gonna hold myself back from continuing to have that conversation. Um, and before we head out, I did want to give a quick like channel update because I am behind on a couple of things. One is for all my returning subscribers that like my comic book confessions, I am gonna have the wrap up posted this coming Wednesday. I'm I'm making it happen. I gotta. And then I know I don't have any book reviews out for my readathon, my interview, the vampire inspired readathon, where I'm focusing on Daniel and Malloy for these next 2 or 3 months. It's coming in the pipeline. I was supposed to have a live show hopefully by the end of this month, but it didn't work out because I'm having a live show, but with two people. I rarely have a live show with multiple people, and so we're all just trying to get on the same page. So as much as I wanted to ideally have like one live show a month, it doesn't look like it's going to be like that. It's most likely all the book chats are going to be like crammed into November, unfortunately, the live discussions, I should say. So I'm also prioritizing reading the books for the live show in a way that I never had before. I'm trying to like read those way ahead of schedule so that I had give myself enough room to cultivate like great questions for a live discussion. And so yes, I will be having Wednesday book reviews for my readathon. It's just going to get like pushed back a little bit more than I would like, but that's just the only way I could juggle this. I knew she was going to come over here. Come on, say hi, Tario. Meow. Nope. Okay. She was good the whole time. So anyways, thank you for discussing this with me. Let me know all your thoughts. I want to hear it all. Just remember life is chaos. So be kind to yourself, be kind to others. That's my cat. And read more books. All right, everyone. Love you. Talk to you later. Bye.